right, Clay, did you do it? No! Meet Buddy! You have some new things to play with. So welcome back, my fellow duplicants, to Oxygen Not Included. This is the spaced out DLC early access beta branch of the game. Yes, you heard me correctly. So they've added a few things here to the testing branch of this DLC that we can now play with. The biggest thing that they've done here is they've added in some different engines. So we've now have the steam engine, the small petroleum engine, or the straight up big petroleum engine, which does require a little bit more research, which I've already gone ahead and done. But that's right over here. However, to build some of this stuff, we do need to have a little bit more space over here, and the ladders can interfere with it. So I gotta trim those back just a little bit. To go along with those new engines, there's a couple of new tanks here. We also have some other modules as well, such as a large solid oxidizer tank and a large cargo bay as well. I'm going to go ahead and swap this engine out here with a small petroleum engine. The awesome thing about the small petroleum engines is that they're going to give us more range. So in my map here, since I built it so early on, the distance to the last planet is actually a little bit longer than if you had recently started on a map. So my rockets actually don't have range to go out there and back. But now that we have bigger and more capable engines, we can go out here and do bigger stuff in the star map. Now this obviously takes a little bit of petroleum. Luckily I have lots of petroleum on hand, and I also have tons and tons of ceramic. Not that I need ceramic to actually do this, but you know what? I have so much of it, I've actually built this entire pipeline out of ceramic. And that is coming all the way from down here, out of my petroleum boiler system. However, on top of this, I want to put an oxidizer tank. And in my case, I'm actually going to go for the large oxidizer tank. If you go with the small one, you won't be able to get quite as much material in there needed to actually match up with the small petroleum engine. Therefore, you'll be slightly limited on the range. So I'm going to go ahead and slap in the the large one. Okay, so there's some other changes that have happened here. This old oxygen mask system is no more. This has actually been removed from the game and replaced with this sort of system right here. So this is a checkpoint, and then we have little oxygen mask docks. So now this works just like the atmosuit docks or the jetsuit docks, but without the environmental protection. In order to make those masks, they've added a brand new piece of equipment down here. This is the crafting table. And right now, the only thing that we can craft inside of the crafting table is those oxygen masks. And we can kind of pick whatever we want here. So, if we want to make it out of igneous rock, then we could do that. Or sedimentary, which is, I think, a little bit different. It used to be made out of metal, I believe. So this resource is readily available. We can go ahead and make a fair amount of these relatively easily. So the other thing that they've done here with the atmosuits here is add a suit durability. So the suits themselves do not last forever. They will actually wear out. Which is an interesting new little game mechanic. We might now have to make suits in order to replace the suits that we've already built. That's something we're going to have to take a close look at here and see if it's actually balanced correctly. Some of this stuff has actually gone down quite a bit already. I don't know if that's just because it's been here already or what. Makes me wonder if the suits are less expensive to build now. No, not quite. Ooh, look at the crafting table. That's cool. So I think the whole idea behind making atmosuits and stuff wear out is that it gives you a reason to actually make more reed fiber rather than just like the one time you need it. Not only that, if you can get away with something that's a little bit more affordable, like an oxygen mask, maybe that's a better use of your resources and whatnot. The other neat thing I'm noticing about the oxygen mask system is that it's only 2 tiles tall. One of the issues I was running into, at least when working inside of those rockets, was that once you got through all the different levels, right, of how you're going to fit everything in here, kind of end up with a limited amount of space. So maybe that'll help us fit oxygen systems inside of those small rockets. Alright, so here we have a bunch of oxygen mask docks set up. It seems as if each one of these docks can hold 30 kilograms of oxygen. So, a bit, not too much. If you compare that to an atmosuit dock, that holds 200 kilograms of oxygen, which is the same as the jetsuit dock as well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and change that real quick and unlock this one. And we'll try to make use of the oxygen masks. All right, here we can see the oxygen mask system at work. Dupes go in. Things seem to work. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. And the nice thing about this is that it doesn't require any power. So putting that inside of rocket ships and stuff is going to be relatively easy, as long as you don't really need some sort of way to survive. Dupes, mate, they'll still run through a different checkpoint. So now to fuel up these rockets, I've got a large solid oxidizer tank. I can fill it with either oxalite or fertilizer. I do believe these do have different properties if I use one or the other. So I'm building two pieces of equipment down here. We got a fertilizer synthesizer and then an oxalite refinery. The nice thing about the synthesizer is that it requires a lot less power to run. Plus it also has a couple of uses as well for your farm and all that good stuff. So just to kick things off here, I'm actually going to try fertilizer. Okay, so if there's one thing I noticed that's kind of weird here is that you do need a ladder to this point in order to make the liquid pipe that goes into this rocket right here. The problem with having ladders in this spot is when you go to try to build the larger rocket, you can't build it because there's no space above. So you have to like build the ladders out over here to build the pipes and all that stuff that kind of gets in the way, and then deconstruct them, and then you can build the larger engine. I feel like there's something that the devs could do to make that a little bit more seamless. Since I'm using so many oxygen masks, I don't really want to just have a bunch of them laying on the ground here. What I'm going to do is do what I do in the other spots here. I'm just going to fill up a smart storage bin and turn the whole system on or off. So then I can set this to just be forever. But then use my inventory space here to control that. So that should be under clothing. Yes, there we have it. Alright, so in order to get the fertilizer synthesizer up and running, I need to give it some polluted water. Where better to get some polluted water than from the lavatories over here? Because why not fuel up and burn our rockets on duplicate P? That makes a lot of sense. So I'm putting in yet another pipeline over here, and that will run right over here like that. Boop. Which means we can go ahead and make our fertilizer synthesizer. Nice. We might want to actually put an output, like a weight plate or something right here, just to kind of automatically turn it off. The reason I kind of like the idea of using fertilizer over oxalite, if we have enough range to make it work, again, is because it has a couple of uses, and the other thing is that it won't off-gas as you're trying to like convey it up here. Because we've seen in the past, you can load these rockets using auto sweepers or something like this. So that would make automatically refueling your rocket a fair bit easier if you don't need to kind of hide the conveyor rail behind tiles and whatnot in order to keep it from, prevent it from off-gassing. The other thing I can see here is that my duplicates that are using the oxygen masks, they seem to be doing just fine. They're really not stressing about things too much. So it seems like the oxygen mask system works pretty good, even if you're going out here into space where things happen to be fairly bright. The duplicates just don't seem to be in the light long enough to get sunburnt or anything like that. I do have a lot of dupes running between different buildings and whatnot. This is great. Alright, so here's one big difference I noticed between the synthesizer and the refinery. And that has to do with the production rate. Coming out of the fertilizer synthesizer, at best, you're going to get about 72 kilograms per cycle. Oh no. Alright, so it seems like I got past that. What I was trying to say here, though, is that there is a big difference between the oil refinery and the fertilizer synthesizer as far as their production rate. You can produce 600 grams a second of oxalite over here, but it comes at the cost of 1,200 watts. You can only use 1/10 of that running the fertilizer synthesizer over here, but you're only going to produce 120 grams a second. So it's going to take more fertilizer synthesizers in order to keep up with the same amount of fuel you can create as you'd be getting from a refinery. So if I wanted to fill up this large solid oxidizer tank here using just one fertilizer synthesizer, it would take me 37 cycles. So clearly, if you want to use fertilizer as your oxidizer, you're going to need several of these machines. So I don't know if it's all that efficient. Let's look into the math just a little bit more. Obviously, we do consume dirt, and that's not a big deal. 39 grams of polluted water becomes 120. Whereas if we go through an electrolyzer to get to oxygen, 1 kilogram of water becomes 888 grams of oxygen. So from a water perspective, it's more efficient to go for fertilizer Sort of. Although now we gotta take a look at the range difference between these two. Well, there's more to it, I guess. Alright, so just to show you the difference between the two oxidizer tanks, you can see that the large one stores 2,700 kilograms, which is a lot. If we were to replace that with the small oxidizer tank, you can see that it's a lot smaller here. But it's only capable of holding 300 kilograms, which I do think is kind of weird when this one can hold 450 kilograms. Now the thing is, there's nothing to tell me the difference between these two things right here. If I was to fill it with oxalite, how much range would I get? If I was to fill it with fertilizer, how much range would I get? But I know that they're different. Let's go ahead and try to put 100 kilograms of oxalite in here just to see how much range that would equal. So I do have oxalite stored up right down here, just under the water. There goes Monk. And we have 100 kilograms of oxalite inside of there. Now, why did you drop... Oh, no! You dropped 199 kilograms of it. So you brought enough to fill this, but you only put 100 in. Alright, there's another thing. Okay, but that right there, 100 kilograms of oxalite, gave me 2 tiles of range. You can see, and we can see here that the fuel consumed per tile is 83 kilograms. Let me go ahead and just take that up to 300 so that we can get that in there before it all off gases and goes No! Oops. My oxalite! It's just venting into space. Why is nobody doing this? Help! Help! I sort of refuse to do this. Alright, so there's definitely something weird going on with the oxidizer tank here. It thinks it's full, even though I changed it, which makes me think that a dupe should come over here and change it, but they're not doing that. So in case you're wondering, stuff like this is why it's in the beta testing branch here. And so if you're doing this, maybe don't turn this down to like 100 kilograms and then try to fill it, because it seems like it's not working. Alright, let's rebuild this one. I'll put 100 kilograms of fertilizer in there, just to see if we have different range with it. Okay, here we have it. My very first worn out oxygen mask. Primary element, dirt. Mass, 15 kilograms. So what do I do with this? Needs to be repaired. Oh, okay, so right down here we have oxygen mask, and then you have worn out oxygen mask. So I can set this up to just be rebuilt. Ah, that's how that's supposed to work. So I don't need to make a ton of these things, I just need to repair them every now and then. So you can see here we have worn out jet suits. We can set that to forever. We've got Atmo suits over here, and we can set that thing to forever as well. Okay, neat. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. If you take a look at the Atmo suit down here, it requires one worn out Atmo suit and then just one reed fiber. So you kind of gotta stitch things up. I like it. That's neat. So if you just want a cheap way to go into an area where you don't have oxygen, it seems like the oxygen mask is your ideal option here. It only requires, you to build it once, and then you can just repair the thing. It's a little bit, tiny bit more expensive to run something like an Atmo suit. What about a jet suit? It just requires one reed fiber again. So a reason to keep making a little bit more reed fiber now and then. Good. Okay. Nice. All right, let's go back to this fertilizer thing real quick. Give it 100 kilograms. All right, so there we go. I've now put 100 kilograms of fertilizer in here. And I still have the same sort of range. Okay. Maybe they are the exact same. If I tried to change this one, no, same sort of deal. You can't change the amount in there. Oh, no. Okay, so that's another thing I just learned here. The oxygen masks do stay on the dupes even when they run out of oxygen. In the past, I think they would actually just disappear. Kind of a small detail, but I think it matters a little bit. All right, let's try this again. 450 kilograms of petroleum down here. Let's try to put 450 kilograms of fertilizer inside of there. And now that I've built this stuff up over here on the left, actually what I can do is build up my larger engine. So this is like a big old petroleum engine, and this is a steam engine. These used to be kind of the lower tech engines, but now they're kind of more high end, and you can see that they're huge as compared to everything else. That does give us some advantages though. One of those being that we can make some really big rockets. I noticed something else here. There's no priority for the large solid oxidizer tank. Another difference between the petroleum engines here is that this one holds its own petroleum, whereas the larger one here, you actually need to use the bigger tank. So that would be the large liquid fuel tank. So build that sucker up, which means the fuel is over here, which makes sense because you can't actually build the ladder in this area. All right. So if I wanted to fuel this thing up, I need to do it like that. When it comes to loading and unloading the rockets, one thing I might possibly like to see is a way to pump gases, liquids, or power into something like the space barrier module. If that had ports on it, that would allow you to then go in there and fill up your batteries that are on the inside. Because by design, you're not supposed to be able to destroy these things, which then means you need to have some sort of generator inside of here. However, you really don't have a lot of space. So it'd be kind of cool if you could charge up a battery from the pad. So one strategy that I think would be cool is if you could charge up your batteries on the pad and then go out and do your mission and then come back and recharge your batteries. Duplicates cannot reach this storage. Oh. Well, that's awkward. Oh, I see. This is unreachable. I guess we have to use a jet suit dock to make that work for now. It looks like we need the gantry back. Alright, plan B. I'm going to store the fertilizer right here and then put an auto sweeper right there. Ha! Monk, how much fertilizer do you have on you? You've got all of it. There we go. Ha! Fueled. Fertilizer 510. We will never know. Sorry. Alright, so while I wanted to explore the new rockets here in my actual playthrough, unfortunately it's just a little bit too unstable. I'm going to end up spending more time going backwards than going forwards. So here we are in kind of just a test map here in the debug tools, just to show you the difference between the rockets. So starting over here on the left, we have our normal carbon dioxide engine, no real change there. You got the engine filled up with carbon dioxide, a small little unit right there, and then a nose cone on that for one single dupe. This gives you the total range of 4 tiles, which we know that we can actually squeak away about 5 tiles if you kind of push the limits just a little bit there. Next to that is the sucrose engine over here. So this one has sugar down here for the actual engine, and then you do need an oxidizer above that. So I'll give this a little bit of oxalite right up here. Set that to oxalite. You only get 300 kilograms inside of that small oxidizer tank, but this thing has 450. See, that's kind of weird. So that gives me a range of 1 tile. So that there is not really useful. We're going to have to change that out with a large oxidizer tank. So then, when you have a little bit more oxidizer down here, you can go a little bit further. Now we have total range of 3. Let me give this a little bit larger. There we go. Fill that sucker up. Total range of 3 tiles. If we throw fertilizer inside of there, you can see that works just as well. Alright. So the thing about the sugar engine is that it allows you to move more stuff, although you can't go quite as far as you can on the carbon dioxide. So if we take a look at the small petroleum engine over here, it's a lot like an upgraded carbon dioxide engine in that you can move a small amount of modules, but this time a little bit further, about 5 tiles right there, using the small oxidizer tank. If we replace that with the larger one, though, we should get more range. I'll fill that with oxalite as well. Uh-oh. Sorry, Clay. Oh no, I didn't mean to do it. So now look at this range. We have up to 9 tiles. How about that? Let's get rid of oxalite, change it out with fertilizer. We still have a total of 9. Alright. Let's bump this down to 450 kilograms. So it's 1-to-1 with the amount of fuel we have down here. And there we can see that if we put 450 kilograms of oxalite inside of here, that gives us a total range of 8 tiles. If we do the same, but this time with fertilizer, you can see that the total range is 3. So fertilizer is not quite as efficient as oxalite. So yeah, right there's a good visual example of the difference between oxalite and fertilizer. If you can use oxalite, I think it's going to be better. I haven't done the entire math chain to figure out what is more efficient power-wise and all that stuff, but anyhow, that's what's up. So for doing apples to apples here, to go a total of 6 tiles right here, it takes 310 kilograms of oxalite versus 900 kilograms of fertilizer. So yeah, it's a lot more efficient to go with the oxalite, and that's how much you need to go 6 tiles, which would be just enough to get you all the way out here. Now, let's take a look at the steam engine. Ooh, it too can go 6 tiles just like that, off of a measly 150 kilograms of steam. Oh yeah, baby. Not only that, you can move all of these modules. You have a rover module, the Trailblazer module, orbital cargo module, and even a small cargo bay on top of that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. However, the big difference here is speed. If you take a look at the small petroleum engine, it's moving 1.6 tiles per cycle as compared to the steam engine moving only 0.3 tiles per cycle. So it takes a lot longer for the steam engine to go the same distance. And then the sugar engine is somewhere right in the middle there, which honestly is not very attractive. I don't know if I'd use the sugar engine at this point. Now, if we compare this to our biggest engine that we have right now, which is the large petroleum engine, this too has a maximum range of about 6 tiles with this current fuel load, mind you, giving us a rover module, the Trailblazer module, and an orbital cargo module on top of there. So 4 additional things. Remember, if you're doing the Spacefarer, you're going to need that plus the nose cone, so that's like 2 right up here. But having a Trailblazer and a rover module would be a good way to take a large rocket like this with a Spacefarer module on top of it in order to go and colonize like a new planet. So I think an ideal setup for a rocket like this would be something a bit like, oh, I don't know, maybe that or possibly that right there. So you can send your rover down to do some work, send the Trailblazer down to build a pad, land the rocket, build what you need, launch it back off. It also looks like they added little flares to kind of match up better with the larger units right there. Some nice artwork. Of course, if you didn't want to run the robot and just wanted to take a larger tank for maybe some extended range to go out and back, I think you can do that. So yes, if you take the large petroleum engine here with 2 liquid tanks and a full oxidizer tank of oxalite, that gives you a total range of 12 tiles. So that right there would allow you enough range to fly out to a new asteroid, drop off a dupe or whatever, and then fly back without ever landing or needing to refuel. So you can definitely see here that the larger rockets are really set up to take you a little bit further out into space and to colonize the new asteroids. That's really what I wanted to play around with today, but we'll have to see if I can get through all of that and try it out here in the next video. However, there is one thing I'm still very curious about. What happens when we launch this steam engine? We'll just put a little bit of drywall back here, just like this. Acknowledge the warnings. Launch. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, yeah, look at all that steam, baby. Ooh, buddy. At any rate, that's all I got time for today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little episode here of Oxygen Not Included. Oh no, what happened, Ellie? Why did you just fall out of the rocket? What? Ellie? Clearly things are working as intended. At any rate, that's all I got time for today. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little episode here of Oxygen Not Included. I'll see you again next time. Stay awesome, guys. Peace. Brothgar out.